I'm Gregor Thompson. I'm a philosopher and a writer, and I know what the meaning of life is. Welcome to The Struggle. This episode is brought to you by The Struggle newsletter. This is a weekly email newsletter in which I send out every Sunday for free a short article concerning the art of embracing struggle. If you're struggling to be more productive, to be healthy, to achieve your dreams, perhaps you're chasing the wrong thing. A lot of us believe that we should be aiming for happiness, but this is an unwise pursuit, as happiness comes and goes without any control from us. However, there is a way to be more fulfilled with life, and that is to embrace productive struggles, to exercise, to eat healthy, to have uncomfortable conversations, to take career risks, to discover who you are, and to be autonomous. That's why I created a newsletter. Along with the article, I also provide tips, strategies, and recommendations such as movies, music, podcasts, and recipes to help along the way. To sign up completely for free, go to gregorthompson.com, the link will be in the show notes, confirm your subscription, and make sure you check your spam folder for your welcome newsletter, and add me to your contacts to continue to receive it in your inbox for free. And that's it. You're on your way to struggling more and being more productive, healthy, and motivated. Now, let's get on with the struggle. This is episode 27 of The Struggle with me, Gregor Thompson. And this week, we're discussing the profundity of the stories that have stood the test of time. There are a plethora of stories, symbols, metaphors, myths, characters, and morals throughout human history that have survived the test of time. And the reason for this is because they are deeply true. Maybe not literally, but symbolically. They resonate and they entice our human nature. These stories are archetypal. They captivate us because they are innately human stories. So we should take them seriously. They tell us who we are and how to move forward. They persuade us to live accordingly with them. They command that we leave similar stories for the future because the history of humanity rests on these stories. So to ignore their significance, to live a life in opposition to them, is to deny your humanity and to make the future worse. Think of the phoenix, a distinct mythological creature. It's not simply a creature for the fantasy of storytellers or story readers. It's a symbol of what we all should be. Just like Jesus Christ represents the bearing of your responsibility, the bearing of your cross, the phoenix bears its responsibility and sacrifices its life for the good, the rebirth of the better. The phoenix represents the sacrifice of life for a better one. The phoenix sacrifices what's most important in order to be reborn from the ashes of its very sacrifice. Is this not what you ought to do? We question what we must sacrifice in order to become better. Most of us do not truly want to know the answer, so we intentionally search in the wrong places. We convince ourselves that we have sacrificed enough, we've found enough meaning and purpose, and are now living the good life. We've made it. The trouble is there actually is no end game to the sacrifice and betterment of yourself. The phoenix does not simply sacrifice once, is reborn, and feels proud of itself thereon. The phoenix does this throughout its life because it can always be reborn better. It can always be better. We must do the same. We must humble ourselves and know we are not perfect and can always be better. And to be better is to sacrifice what we are now for a better self. So where do we find the answer to this innately human question? What should we sacrifice to find true meaning and purpose? Unfortunately, it is where we least want to look. Of all the stories that we have explored thus far, the most captivating, the most deep and meaningful, the ones that have survived have portrayed that the greatest sacrifice produces the most meaningful reward. The phoenix sacrifices its life to be better. This doesn't mean that you must sacrifice your life to be better, because these are just stories. So these are symbols of what we ought to do without literal intention. Therefore, we must search for a sacrifice that we least want to sacrifice. We do this often without even being aware of it. When we go to the gym after work, we're sacrificing pleasure now for our future. So we will be better in the future, but we might not be happy now. When we have an uncomfortable conversation, we sacrifice comfort now for a more meaningful relationship in the future. When we swallow our pride and go to therapy and unload all that is hurting us, we are sacrificing our pride and comfort now for a future of knowledge and truthful identity. The bigger and more uncomfortable the sacrifice, the better the reward. Maybe you start off small and sacrifice the comfort of staying in bed all day tomorrow for getting out of bed, making it, and then sitting on the couch all day. Maybe that sacrifice is all you can bear right now. Maybe that's your cross to bear. Perhaps later you are stronger and can bear heavier and heavier loads until you're sacrificing for meaning, living a life of freedom, autonomy, and fulfillment. So ask yourself, what do I need to sacrifice? Because meaning and purpose doesn't just come pre-packaged in life. It comes at a price. That price is sacrifice. You have to sacrifice something in order to find meaning and purpose. All of the greats, all of the most successful people, all sacrificed a lot. So what are you willing to sacrifice? What is difficult that you don't want to let go of, but you know you should? The answer lies in the struggle. So keep on struggling. Just a few more things before you take off. Firstly, thank you for watching. It genuinely means a lot to see people viewing and liking the content. Second, if you're enjoying the content, please subscribe. It's the best way you can support the podcast. As you can probably tell, I don't have a lot of fancy equipment and I don't have a team behind me helping with recording and editing the podcast. So any support from you is greatly appreciated and it will help the podcast grow. You can also stay up to date with everything I'm doing on social media. All of the links will be in the show notes. And you can listen to the Struggle podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And lastly, keep on struggling.